So everything's good. Everything's recording.
Communication
Good. Hello.
is key.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. 3 cameras now. We're good. Okay, this will be interesting, fellas.
It's not just going to be interesting.
Huh?
It's not just going to be interesting.
Why are you the way
It's going to be extraordinary.
Why are you the way that you are? What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Every Dad Podcast right here in the Solar Coffee Bar. We want to thank them for allowing us to use their space. And always, thanks to What's Up Media for recording all this. And we got a new sponsor, Dalton Childs. We don't know the name of his company, but he's doing all the editing. So shout out to Debo for doing all the hard stuff while we sit here and just chit-chat.
Debo.net.
Debo.net.
That might actually be something.
Don't click
Yeah,
that.
don't click that. Like, we're not going to say that we endorse that thing. So how's it going, man? You just recently had your fifth child.
Cinco.
Fifth.
So how's that going? How's mom doing?
Mom's doing good. I've referred to it as the houseplant phase right now. So little
You
Noah,
referred to that, or like it's like a term?
So you can look it up, and if somebody else, wrote it first, that's fine. Like, give them their credit. But if it's not there, then I would like to come back and patent it because I think it's pretty smart.
Yeah.
So the houseplant phase, basically Noah doesn't contribute anything. And I'm actually not sure, looking back, how much the other four contribute to society or the family. Liam helps a little bit.
Yeah.
He's pretty close to being able to be pretty helpful. But Noah doesn't do anything yet. So, I mean, he'll talk soon, but that's still a matter of time.
So mom's good.
Mom's
the baby's
good. Mom's healthy. Baby's healthy.
Adjusting to life.
Adjusting to life.
7.
Family of 7 sounds really daunting.
Yeah.
But,
So here's the question. Like, have you got your church van yet for the family?
okay, so I am officially 1 kid shy of having.
What?
to
You
get
can
a
fit
church- a
5
church
car
van.
seats
Yep.
and 2 adults in the
Yep.
minivan.
It's quite impressive.
I see. I feel like you're already at the
Hang on.
need phase for
What
the
did-
van.
What did Blake call it? Blake's not here today. We miss you, Blakey boy. But
Blake.
what do you call it?
What?
He called your van something like
I don't know, but I'm sure it was derogatory. And I definitely
like the. I want to say something, but I probably don't need to say it. He called your van something, and it cracked me up. Like, it was hilarious.
I really don't remember.
Check
what
out
it was.
another episode.
Sissy Mobile
Yeah,
or something.
I
Yeah,
don't
go
know
back
what
and
it
watch it. But all I know is this. Okay, it's a pretty it's a tight squeeze. All right, you're not getting like a wagon or a car seat or a carrier or anything like that in there. But you can get
Groceries.
You can get
yeah.
you can get me, Catherine, Liam moved to booster seat, so that does help.
Okay.
And then you've got Judah, and then baby, and then in the back you've got the twins. Now, I actually don't know if this is the intended function of the van, but you can actually pull that seat, and so you can actually pull the back. It'll fold, half fold.
Yeah.
Put the baby in.
Fold
and
it
then,
back up.
And then fold it back up. So a little dad hack.
Hey, if it
Most
works,
cars
it works.
do that.
Yeah.
Only some of them are unsafe. So yeah. So everything's
That's
good,
true.
man. Clark family, party of 7. We're not going out to eat anytime soon, but things are
I
good.
get it. I got one graduating tomorrow. Nope. In the next couple of days. I don't know what day it is.
So
But,
what is that like? You got
dude,
a
I'm
dad?
still processing that. Like, it's just it's kind of one of those busy weeks. I'm traveling out of the country the day after he graduates. We got family coming in, so just kind of a crazy time. I hadn't really processed yet, but he will walk the stage as a senior graduating. He's already got a job, trying to figure out school. It's just weird. It's weird,
Yeah.
but
Sure.
it's okay. Family's good. Your family's good?
They're good, man.
We're
We're
good.
wide open.
Wide open?
Living life.
Is Charlie? Is he past the houseplant phase? Is that
He is about to be mobile.
TM? Maybe.
He's about to be mobile, and that's about to change
Okay.
everything.
When you say mobile, so
Crawling.
he's sitting up now,
Yes.
but he's not crawling.
No.
He ain't going nowhere.
He
Is that a gas?
We've captured it on film once.
Okay.
He 1-2 and then fell on his
Okay.
face.
And Charlie actually had a man bun before I did.
Yeah, it did.
So Charlie came out with dreadlocks.
He got
For
his
sure.
first and probably only haircut a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
and we hate it.
Only ever?
Yeah.
Nah, man, it looks good.
I mean, yeah, it does, but he don't look like Charlie. We got to get the flow back.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump into we've been doing this podcast for a little bit, talking about dad stuff, and I think it's relevant to our culture, relevant to things that are happening in society today, talking just about dads. Dads need to be encouraged. They need to be equipped. We're learning still as we go, right? And so one of the I kind of, and we talked about this, just this whole idea of what father figure should be versus, or what culture says versus what scripture says.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think it's just something that probably needs to be talked about, because culture, society, the world is influencing families in a way that we've probably never seen before. Like, just with so many things that are out there, there's so many different ideologies as to how you raise children, so many different methodologies on what to do and how to do it, and it can get confusing for a family. It can get confusing for dads, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, but like, just the monotony of life kind of gets in the way, and it seems that the monotony is progressing, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's more and more. So so how do we have this conversation about cultural fatherhood versus biblical fatherhood? Like, what do you think some of the differences are when it comes to how we should be that father figure in the home? And I'll leave that open to you guys. I have some ideas, but I wanted to hear from you guys on.
I kind of go to the most drastic difference of cultural would be the dad is like second. He's there when needed. He's the fall guy on jokes. I go to like sitcom dad, basically. And we kind of talked about that. Y'all talked about that in a past episode. And like, but biblically, the man is the head. Just as he's being led by Christ, he should lead his family. And so I think of that drastic difference in culture and biblical, because culture, if you're trying to lead and you don't have that foundation at all of being led by Christ, then it's, well, first and foremost, it's hard. And when it gets hard, what are you going to fall on?
Right.
And that's going to be, you're going to burn out. You're going to feel imperfect and insignificant, and you're gonna wrestle with not being good enough and not being a good dad, no matter how hard you try. Whereas that faith gives you that something to be grounded.
For sure.
Yeah, I was listening. I mean, literally, and I think you said it well, Rob. Like, culture, and when we say culture, I think it's important too, because culture is kind of the word that's used to kind of paint that broad stroke of the brush. But like, when you really think about like kids, what they're being influenced by, and then you use the word culture, like, the reality is, I mean, right now, like, peer influences are something that are huge. Social media influences are huge. Whether anytime they're spending on, and it's crazy the amount of stuff that people are, like, kids are exposed to, teenagers are exposed to. And so I think that's a good thing to frame. But kind of looking at going back to fatherhood, and Scripture talks about this, right? Like, where your treasure is, your heart will be also.
Right.
And I think that's important. And I think the reason why maybe on the surface it doesn't feel like an important question to this, but what is important to me as a man? I mean, what is important to me as just a dude that's trying to live my life on a daily basis? Like, is my goal to have as much stuff? Is it to have some form of success? In whether that's monetary or whether that's status or social success or whatever that is, and not that any dad or husband or would ever say that those things would maybe be as important. But I think there's kind of this common maybe lie of, well, while the kids are young, I'm going to pour all of my effort into my work. I'm going to pour all of my effort into my life. That way I can enjoy kind of those childhood, teenage years with my family once we're a little bit more financially free and we've got some of all the. Right. But what you don't realize is, I mean, 90% of kids from that age, I mean, from 4 to like 12, that's where these kids are developing their sense, their trust. They're developing, the relationship that is going to go on and build the foundation. And so as a father, really being able to say, no, you know what, my treasure is going to be in, taking a biblical stand. And, it talks about like train up a child in the way that he should go.
Yeah.
That's a daily thing. I mean, how are you supposed to train somebody when you're not even there?
Right.
And so being there, and, a couple episodes ago, we talked about presence, but being there on a consistent basis allows me to, kind of put my money where my mouth is, and, and actually start to weed through. I heard somebody talk about this the other day, but like, really, what am I up against as a father? We're talking about culture versus Bible. Well, I'm up against culture. I'm and so how do I, as somebody that is, called, have the role as, a father, to lead my family well, to disciple my children in such a way that they are in culture, but they're influential. They're not influenced by culture, but they're actually able to go out and be the danger, because, we're called to be light in a dark world. They're supposed to be that. And so we do that by actually being able to go, deep. We're very good at surface level conversations. We're very, good at kind of surface level relationships where we go, hey, like, how many times have you had this? Like, man, how was your day, bro? It's like, I was good. It's like, all right. Like, I really didn't want to know the answer to that. That was like more so just kind of what, but we do that with our kids a lot as well, and being able to go, you know what, I'm going to go heart deep and actually get through culture. How was your day today? Okay, great. Tell me one thing that you really liked.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So there's some different things too, but
well, and I'm kind of taking the stance on, as I've kind of evaluated the way that I was taught from my father compared to how I'm trying to teach my kids. I'm looking, I'm kind of taking the perspective on some of the day-to-day stuff, right? Like, culture is talking about, society is talking about, or changing the view of a father to where the father has to kind of be a friend more than that authority figure, right?
Yeah.
And so you think about it on some sort of sports environment where, the dad may be a great coach because the dad wants that kid to be the next all-star or the next pro whatever.
Yeah,
and
he's throwing in the high 60s.
Yeah,
Throwing the next holiday.
High 60s. I think I was thrown in the 60s when I was in like 12th grade. You know what I mean? Like, I can't throw.
It's a great changeup.
Yeah, put a soccer ball.
Tim Wakefield is
I'll show you where to go. But like, so when the whole friend versus authority figure, like in our household, like the role of the father is that authoritative head of the household, not necessarily in that diplomatic or that democracy or but I think it can be done with discipline, and authority can be done with grace and mercy, a little bit of peace and patience, fruits of the spirit, right?
Yeah.
Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness. Yeah. All that can be wrapped in this authority figure of the father in the home. And I've seen. We've all worked with teenagers, and we've seen where parents have tried to be the friend of their kid,
and it has. Yeah, like it's definitely more that way now.
Yeah, but
we see
that there's a detrimental effect to that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Kids are getting independent very quick and almost stepping out of the house very fast. Versus, when I say stepping out of the house, I'm talking about parents are letting kids go do whatever they want at any time, and I think that is a byproduct of trying to be friend over the authority.
Well, and with working with teens and just absolutely seeing that, and like Ty said, even more so now, I feel like we don't like discipline. We don't like being disciplined, so therefore we feel like our kids are going to hate us if we discipline them, whatever. And I'm dealing with I'm dealing with a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old. I mean, Charlie's pretty chill, right? Like I'm not disciplining him too much right now. He doesn't respond to it anyways.
He's a plant.
He's
in plant phase.
He's an almost mobile houseplant.
A mobile houseplant?
Almost mobile houseplant.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking about.
We're sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
Jeez, man.
Go ahead.
ADD. Now I'm thinking of mobile homes.
All right. Well, all right. While you're trying to figure that out, like, let me just ask you this question: like, were you disciplined as a kid?
Oh, yeah.
Like, who did the discipline?
Oh yeah. Was I ever?
yeah.
More on that later,
Oh,
ladies and
my
gentlemen.
goodness.
But like, what?
All of them. Mom, dad, Meemaw, all of them.
Okay, but who is the primary disciplinarian? Your dad.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Meemaw.
Meemaw
Hey,
was
she
she
watched
pulled out the switch,
Dad
right?
was strict,
she
but
was
Meemaw-
daycare from like 5-year-old to 3rd grade,
Meemaw.
man.
No.
All right. So what did that discipline look like? It's good. All right. So your dad's a believer,
Yeah.
right? Grew up in church. I notice I say right a lot. Your dad's a believer. Grew up in church. Biblical father example.
Right.
How did he discipline?
So like younger on, it was correction. Like I had one time verbal warning, right, and then I got spanked. But getting older, like that was almost worse. Is the verbal warning. As I got older,
Yeah.
I was almost
Okay.
like would rather take a beating
Right. I feel
than
that.
to just have to sit and wait until he got home
Yeah.
Yep.
and just wonder what was going to happen. But it was. I mean, there was grace, but also there was consequences to breaking the rules. There was a standard set, and when you didn't meet it because of who I represented, then there
Did
was
they let you
consequences.
slide?
No.
Like it wasn't like okay,
You're
okay, just let him go this time.
Looking back, I feel like he had a couple situations that I can like think back on. I feel like he was very much in the know and was wanting to see how I would respond,
Okay.
and wanting to see
So
what
you-
decision I would
Homie
do.
playing mind games on me.
Dude,
I really
I'm
feel
sitting
that.
here going back to my childhood right now.
Yeah.
I'm uncomfortable just.
All right,
thinking.
so
Yeah.
My dad,
Ty Clark, ladies and gentlemen.
brain surgeon, this guy.
So all right,
Dude, I remember the first time I got in trouble for something like really serious. Like my dad, and I thought I could wait the clock out. So I'm like, he got to be at work at 8, right?
right.
Nope, he didn't have to be at work at 8 that day. I'll tell you that. So like, he pulls me out to the back porch. He goes, "Son, is there anything you need to tell me?"
Nope.
Brother, you're going to be late to your 2 o'clock. Because I tell you this, there are so many things that I need to tell you, and I don't have, as of right now, a single clue on which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
We'll sit this thing out all day, I'm telling you, until finally he gave me just enough of a context clue, and I was like,
Yeah.
yes, actually, there is something that I need to tell you. And my dad would also, he would say, when you get home, or when I get home, you're going to get a spanking.
Yep.
Great. Thanks for ruining my day.
All
Yeah.
day, man.
Just go ahead, knock it out right now. But
So- I grew up in the culture, in the environment, in the age, because I'm a little bit, believe it or not,
a little bit.
Just
a little bit older than you guys. Okay, I know I look extremely young, but I grew up where you could still get. Are y'all making faces?
Not
at
at
each
I
all.
other?
wasn't even
Okay.
looking at him. Thank you, WhatsApp Media, for the editing.
I grew up in the age where you could still get spankings at school. You could get
Oh yeah, me too, bro.
licks, okay? But like, I went to a private school, and it like I'm assuming parents signed this consent form that you could spank, that the school could spank the kid. So
I think they don't do that anymore.
we had a rule that if I got a spanking or a lick at school, I got one when I got home by my dad.
It's a terrible rule.
Yeah, you
That's the
know,
worst.
and
That's
you
the
know,
worst.
like maybe that was some fabricated rule in my own head, but I don't remember. I didn't get a lot of them. However, you know, my dad always did that with grace and some mercy, because he explained why I was
Yeah.
getting disciplined.
For sure.
And
Yeah.
I think it's easy to go, hey, go to your room, you're grounded, and not have this conversation on, hey, here's why.
good.
Like here's why you're getting disciplined. Can you tell me
Mhm.
where the wrong is in this? And then in that, you're able to create some sort of uncomfortable conversation
Yeah.
with your kid when
Yeah.
you are talking about the reason there is discipline,
Yeah.
or the reason there is this authority figure. And, you know, like for instance, my youngest son, he kind of popped off to his mom the other day, and I'm like, hey, bro, we're going to your room to talk about this for a second. And I was able to go, hey, do you see me talk to your mother that way?
Mhm.
And he goes, no. Then I'm like, then why are you talking to your
Right.
mom that way? We
Yeah.
don't, another question. Do we speak to you in this manner? No. All right, then why are you speaking to us in this manner? But it allows me to go biblically, let me show you how we treat other people.
Yeah.
Biblically, let me show you the grace and the mercy that was shown to me. There's going to be consequences and there's going to be results from the wrong thing that you did, and you're still going to pay the consequence of that, but we can have this conversation.
Yeah.
And I just don't know if that's part of today's environment.
Sure.
I am seeing the difference in handling discipline with my oldest son, my 3-year-old, with when I do it well, when I do it that way, and explain to him and tell him, here, you're getting a consequence because of this. Yep. Instead of, and I haven't always done it right. I don't ever want to spank out of anger, but I've definitely given commands to go to your room or talk to him way more stern than I needed to in the moment out of anger. And he doesn't respond. He'll keep doing it later. But whenever I can sit down and tell him, hey, here's a consequence because of this, because we don't do this, we don't hit our sister. We don't.
You're like, we don't hit.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's why spank him? Don't hit. Get a spank. No, but
sorry.
That did hurt a little bit. When I'm able to talk to him and then can see a 3-year-old actually process all right, he told me what was wrong, but he also told me what I should be doing. And him handle it. And he's 3, so that's it.
For sure. Going back to something you said, though, I mean, I think, and this is a huge difference between culture versus biblical, because I think some of that kind of cultural is do as I say, not necessarily as I do, kind of mentality, right?
Yeah.
And it's because I said so, that's why, And I know that was certainly an acceptable answer, And I'm not even saying this was necessarily right or wrong. I've got an opinion on that, but I'm not going to say. But that was an acceptable answer for me, for all my friends growing up. And now I'm sitting there going, as a kid, I remember saying, "Man, I really wish." I get that, you win, but why though?
Right.
Walk me through a little bit of it. And so going back to that, when you ask that question, do you see me talk to your mother that way? What if the answer is yes? What ground do you have to stand on there? And so biblically, being able to, 1, be the kind of example, and then 2, going back to that conversation, I think there's probably some practical advice to move into for that. Just thinking about ways that I've done it wrong and gotten lucky and done it right, but we call it tying the heartstrings. And so if you don't ever take the time to tie the heartstrings, and you don't ever take the time to explain to that young 5-year-old, 3-year-old, hey, this is why, in a non-emotional way, this is why this happened. Is this, and then being able to point that back to Scripture through some different ways that are practical. Hey, this is what Jesus says.
But I go back to the conversation, right? In that moment. So say I did do it wrong, and my son goes, have you ever heard me talk to your mother that way? And he goes, yes. And I'm like, okay. Then it gives me a chance to be a little bit vulnerable and to admit, which is hard, to admit that I was wrong to my child.
Yep.
But again, that conversation allows you to grow as a father, because you are showing grace and mercy, just like we've been shown grace and mercy. You are living out what you were trying to teach your child in the middle of the discipline, going back to that conversation. So I think it's okay to have conversation about discipline. Do you remember the last time you were disciplined by your father? I know I caught you off guard with that one. I don't, because I'm so much older than you guys.
No, but I remember one of the funniest times I was disciplined.
Can you say it on the podcast?
I mean, we'll drop it in the comments below. Not a great use of time, but no,
I got you.
certainly laughable. I'll tell you that.
Okay. Do you remember the last time you were disciplined by your dad?
Dude, I was 21 years old.
Are you serious?
He was paying for tuition, so he had every right to get on to me, because I was not studious.
To
say the least at this point in time.
Yeah.
And I was doing everything else really well. I was working full time and killing it at the job, but not in studies, and so he had to foot the bill for basically a whole wasted semester. So that wasn't fun.
I was probably in my 20s, late 20s.
Yeah.
Because I had talked to I was talking to my mom on the phone, and I was a little bit, believe it or not, I was probably a little bit rude and mouthy to my mom on the phone. And then my dad calls me and says, "Hey, man, we don't appreciate the way you talk to your mom. You probably don't need to talk to your mom that way again." So it's still a thing. I have major respect for my father.
Yeah.
And I think that respect for my father goes all the way back to the way that he ran the household, the way that he disciplined out of love and grace, the way that he led biblically the family, led biblically my mom, and I see that, and I still have mad respect for my dad, and I want that for my kids. Like I want my kids to be 40-ish years old and have respect for me as I want them to have respect for me when they're my age, with the way that we talked about the way that we treat our spouse. Like that's a big part of being a dad, is the way that you treat your spouse. And I want them to have respect for the way that I led. The other day, and I think this is a great compliment. So let me pat myself on the back on this. But, the other day I was talking to my oldest son about something, and I said, "Boy, don't lie to me, man. Like, don't." He's like, "Dad, I'm not lying to you." I said, "Well, if you lie to me, it shows that you don't respect me." And he goes, "Dad, I respect you a lot. I'm not lying to you." And I'm like, all right, discipline over, like, we're good. You know what I mean? Like,
then I found out he was lying.
No, he wasn't lying. But like, I think the respect is because of the authority figure that my dad had in the home versus he wasn't trying to be my friend. He just wasn't trying to be my coach. He wasn't just trying to make me a better person. He was leading well biblically, showing grace and truth, teaching me values, teaching me work ethic and all these things. So.
There's a difference in striving for perfection and striving for holiness.
Ooh.
Did
you catch that, ladies and gentlemen? Say that again, man. Can you say it again?
Yeah, so there's a difference.
Say it louder. Say it louder for the audience out west.
There's a difference in striving for perfection than striving for holiness.
Yeah.
And so I look back at the example that my dad set, and there were people in my life that they were pushing, whether it was sports or academics, for perfection. Yeah. Like they wanted them to do good, to be that representative, to be perfect. And there's a difference in remember whose you are. And I'm not talking about you're not my son. Like you're a follower of Christ, so therefore remember who you are and whose you are. And so striving for holiness was striving for me to be like Jesus. That's really good. And not a perfect son.
I've actually got
go ahead.
Just real quick, sorry. I've got a really good, I tell it a lot at Next Gen. So if you're listening to this and you go to Next Gen, there's a chance you've heard it. This is the old Michael Jordan talk. But
nice.
I go back to in a growing up. I mean, I had so many friends whose dads would they were results based, and it was like, if you don't go, it's crazy as this sounds, it's like if you don't go 2 for 3, you're grounded. It's like, what? How is that?
Happens. Yeah.
Like love, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
2 for 3, you're talking baseball.
Baseball.
Right.
Like 2 for 3. But my dad, there was only one time that he ever got frustrated at me after playing a game, and that was because our pitcher, we were playing for the district championship. Our pitcher was 1 out away from a perfect game, and the ball got hit to me, and I took 2 steps to my right, put my glove out, the ball went under my glove, and when I got done, he chewed me out. And it had absolutely nothing to do with the fact that I missed the ball. It had everything to do with the fact that I did not give it 100% effort that I had. And so it was this very different, kind of to that same point. Not perfection, not results based, but it was something in my heart, something in my character that says, I'm willing to not go the extra mile. And that was what my dad was focused on, which he could have very easily missed that, but instead it was a pretty foundational lesson for me.
All right, so to close out our podcast, I'm going to ask a question, and I'm just going to throw this out. I know I didn't give you this question beforehand. Practically, how do you, and I'll answer as well, how do we be that biblical father in the home? And here's I love the strive for holiness terminology. I think that's That could be a model for everything in life. Okay, striving for holiness. But for me, I really do want to set the example, that Christ-like example.
Yeah.
And I know that may be churchy and that may be cheesy and that maybe even be simple on the surface level, but once you start to peel that layer back a little bit, me being Christ-like filters down into every little thing, the things that I say, the way that I treat, the way that I lead by example. And the way that I'm going to understand that is I've got biblical truth in my life that is carrying out into every part. I mean, that's why our kids are in church, and that's why, we don't make them go to church. They want to go to church. Now, there's a space for making your kids go to church, but now they want to go to church. And
now they want to. Because of consistency.
Right. And, so for me, and a lot of that too, biblically, is sticking to your values and sticking to your morals. And that's what I was taught by my dad. I couldn't, we always stuck to biblical values and biblical morals, regardless of what culture and society said. And I'm trying to, in the same way that I was taught that, I'm trying to teach biblical values and morality through Scripture to my kids. So practically, that's how I'm doing it. So I'd love to hear how you guys practically are being that biblical dad.
Most importantly for me is like staying connected to Him, staying grounded in that.
So how do you stay connected to Him?
Well, like value spending time with Him,
Okay.
and I've sought counsel from this too. Is it used to be so easy. I had my routine before kids, and it got even harder and almost non-existent with kids because there is no time in the morning. I don't have to set an alarm anymore. They are my alarm. And it's way earlier than I wanted to be.
Then how are you late to work every day?
Listen, man, there's not so many times I'm walking out the door
I'm sorry.
at 7:45 and there's a diaper to be changed or Brody comes with like
my bad
poop-filled pants. Like it's just
you don't have to say the word.
Dude, one time Robbie came in before 8:30 and I gave him a tour of the place. This is what it looks like.
It looks different in that morning light.
This is what it looks like before 9 a.m. Here's the
sun's above the trees.
Dang,
you're both jerks for that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we love each other dearly, and this is real life.
I work very hard to get my 3 kids out the door.
Okay, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, no, it's hard.
I got it off my chest. Oh my goodness.
You've been holding on to that one for a minute.
I've been waiting. So
I've sought counsel on that for real because it's a new dynamic, but it's still vital. So I have to spend time with him. I have to quiet time, read my whatever you want to call it. I've got to spend time with Jesus. Because time. Well, you said it, train up a child. That's a daily thing. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
And because there will be times where you will do that. And you will not be as good of a dad as you want to be. You will not be as good of a husband as you want to be. You will not be whatever vocation you're in. You're not going to be at your top of your game if you're not. And so that's practically that's where I'm at. It starts with the most important thing because, like you said, that filters throughout. I am a better dad when I hit pause on them to make sure that happens.
Perfect.
So that was exactly what I was going to say, almost verbatim. So great words.
That's why I went first.
I'll say it. No, but it is kind of funny. It's the same principle, but I'll say it in a slightly different way and make it feel like it's a whole different thing.
Oh my goodness.
So I try to stay.
Should I give you a time limit?
Sure. Yeah. What you got?
I don't know.
Okay.
We'll give you. In my mind, I got a time limit.
2 minutes.
Sure.
All right. Here we go. Try and stay one ahead of your family at all times. There was a podcast that I listened to, and that was kind of one of the things that I took that was like really foundational. Was you don't have to have it all figured out, but you do need to stay ahead.
Yeah.
And specifically like when it comes to Bible reading and that sort of thing, like his whole point was stay one quiet time with Jesus ahead of your family. Like you've got to know where you're trying to take them.
Yeah.
You can't just be along for the ride as well.
Yeah.
And I think that is very transferable to anything and everything that you could possibly be wanting to do as a father, where you're leading intentionally as a husband, as a employee, as a whatever it is, by trying to stay one ahead. So in those moments, for example, where your kid is, just going crazy or has done something that, is just unthinkable or whatever it is, like taking that time, if you're not one step ahead, you're going to react in frustration and emotion, and it's going to be this thing where now I've got to go back and apologize versus taking that deep breath, saying, hey, buddy, I just need you to go into your room real quick. We'll talk, just a minute. Like even subtle stuff. Like we try not to close the door because we don't want in those moments them to feel like they're closed off or that they're, not accessible to the family. Like it's very subtle. It's probably doesn't make any difference at all. But just like little things like that to say, look, even in your emotions are important to us, but, and you have the ability to feel those things. None of those are wrong, but we still have to steer those towards, again, that kind of holiness. So staying one ahead of your family, and then the second thing that I would say, you only asked for one, but I'm going to give you two.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You don't get extra 2 minutes though.
Oh, really? Same 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, that's harder. Is in the moments where you feel like things are the most difficult, that's where you need to press in the most. So in those moments where you feel like everything's kind of falling apart, you don't know exactly how to get, you feel like you and your relationship with your wife is a little bit, maybe stressful, or you feel like there's just no structure, everything's out of control. Those are the moments where the little things, and really I think a lot of times we go, those are the moments where I can take that day off, or I can, instead of reading, I can watch something on Netflix. And that little decision, you don't realize it, is extremely foundational to the next day and the next week and the next month, and really kind of taking back the moments and the kind of intentionality that's been lost.
Yeah, cool, man. Hey, I appreciate the conversation. Like I said, I think dads are being distracted so much. There's so much that's influencing families and fatherhood. So I appreciate this conversation. I appreciate just the reminder and the encouragement, and we hope you do as well. But appreciate it. Got anything else?
Good.
Got anything else? No? All right. Hey, thank you for watching and listening right here
Later.
on the Every Dad podcast, and we'll see you very, very soon. Like, subscribe, tell all your people, tell all your friends. We are here. See you next time.